The engine hummed steadily as Amelia and Aaron raced down the empty highway, eager to escape the stresses of everyday life. Little did they know this spontaneous trip would become the most terrifying ordeal of their lives. Night fell quickly over the isolated road. No streetlights, no other vehicles, just endless darkness and silence. Suddenly, the motorcycle sputtered and died. Stranded in the middle of nowhere, they stood helplessly beside the broken bike until a pair of headlights pierced the gloom. A police officer stopped to help. He guided them to a rundown lakeside resort that had clearly seen better days. At the center stood a massive swimming pool, unusually deep because it had once been used for scuba diving training. The entire property looked neglected, peeling paint, flickering lights, and an eerie quiet that hung in the air. The officer spoke firmly to the manager. "This pool is a serious hazard. Drain it by morning, or I'll have to shut this place down. Your license hasn't even been renewed." The manager nodded nervously and hurried away. Amelia and Aaron were shown to a simple room. Exhausted from the long ride and breakdown, they fell asleep quickly without questioning the strange atmosphere. The next morning, Amelia decided to relax by the pool. She put on her headphones, settled onto a floating mattress, and let the calm water soothe her worries. The music carried her far from reality. Aaron told her he would head to the mechanic to fix the bike and return as soon as possible. Amelia nodded, replaced her headphones, and drifted peacefully. A short while later, the manager approached the pool's edge. He called out that she needed to leave the water soon because he had to drain the pool that day. Without waiting for a reply, he walked toward the pump room. Inside the dimly lit chamber, water covered the floor up to his waist. Suddenly, powerful movement stirred beneath the surface. Before he could react, a massive shadow surged forward. His brief struggle ended in heavy splashes. The enormous crocodile pulled its target under in seconds. The manager vanished. Completely unaware, Amelia continued floating with her eyes closed and music playing. Several miles away, Aaron reached the mechanic's shop, just as heavy clouds gathered and rain began to fall. Back at the resort, the first fat raindrops hit Amelia's face. She opened her eyes, expecting to see water around her. Instead, pure terror gripped her. The entire pool had been drained. She now lay at the bottom of a 20-foot deep concrete pit. The floating mattress rested awkwardly on the hard floor. There were no ladders or steps that reached all the way down. One set of stairs hung uselessly high above. Amelia screamed desperately for help, but the resort was empty. Her voice echoed uselessly against the cold walls. The rain grew heavier. In growing panic, Amelia noticed her phone lying on a chair near the top edge, far beyond her reach. She tore off her outer clothes, grabbed her towel and the floating mattress, and tied them together to create a makeshift rope. She attached her headphones to one end and threw it upward repeatedly. After many failed attempts, it finally caught on the chair. She pulled hard. The phone tumbled down and cracked when it hit the concrete. Amelia immediately used the voice assistant and instructed it to call Aaron. The phone rang several times, but Aaron is on the way, so he didn't answer the call. The chair teetered dangerously on the edge. Amelia didn't notice. A gust of wind and rain sent it crashing straight down. It slammed into her head. Pain exploded. Darkness swallowed her. When Aaron returned sometime later, he assumed Amelia had already left the pool area, but her bag and their dog barking frantically near the edge made him peer down into the empty pool. He saw Amelia lying motionless at the bottom. Aaron's heart pounded with fear. He carefully climbed down the shaky upper steps, which swayed and groaned under his weight. Once close enough, he tossed a water bottle downward to wake her. Amelia stirred weakly and groaned. Relief washed over him when he realized she was still alive. He began climbing back up to get proper help. The steps groaned. Bolts snapped. Aaron plummeted, crashing hard. His shoulder dislocated with a sickening jolt. Amelia, though still dazed, knew exactly what to do. She used her hands to guide the joint back into place. Aaron clenched his teeth against the pain, but the shoulder was reset. They now had only one working phone left, Aaron's. In panic, he dialed the manager instead of emergency services. No answer, of course. Before he could try another call, the battery died. Amelia screamed until her throat burned. No one came. The rain eased slightly. They tried climbing the slippery walls, but it was hopeless. Aaron spotted a drainage grate at the bottom. Using his locket as a tool, he pried it open. A dark tunnel stretched ahead, half filled with water. He hesitated. He couldn't swim, but it was clear the tunnel connected directly to the lake. Lake water was crashing against the far grate, causing it to flip open and shut with each wave. There was a real escape route, but Aaron couldn't take it. He climbed back out and had just begun explaining the situation to Amelia when, without warning, The massive crocodile burst out of the drain and into the empty pool. Terror froze them both. They quickly grabbed the fallen chair and used it as a shield while backing away. The crocodile lunged forward with terrifying speed. At the final moment, the chair scraped loudly against the concrete. The sudden noise startled the beast. It retreated to the drain opening, jaws slightly parted, and waited. Throughout the long, terrifying night, Amelia and Aaron remained almost motionless. They took turns sleeping while the other stayed on guard. The beast never moved far from its position near the drain. By morning, the rain returned even more intensely. They realized they couldn't wait any longer for outside help. Aaron boosted Amelia upward so she could reach a light fixture mounted on the high wall. She climbed as high as she could and began smashing the glass cover to create a secure handhold. The loud noise disturbed the crocodile. It drew dangerously close, forcing Aaron to scramble backward. Amelia was left dangling precariously from the broken fixture high on the wall. Simply hanging there was difficult enough. To stay safe from the threat below, she had to keep her legs curled upward. Her arms burned with exhaustion, and she had almost no strength left. Seeing her weakening, Aaron deliberately drew the crocodile's attention. He used the chair as a shield and began kicking wildly at the beast. By sheer luck, the crocodile lost its footing on the slick floor and slipped backward, disappearing into the dark drain. Amelia lost her grip and fell hard to the bottom. They slammed the drainage grate shut and sat on top of it, hoping to keep the crocodile trapped below, while the rain rapidly began to refill the pool with water. Suddenly, their dog started barking wildly from the top edge of the pool. The crocodile had discovered another route through the gutters and had reached the upper level. They called desperately for the dog to come closer to safety. They almost succeeded. At the very last moment, however, the predator struck, dragging the pet out of sight. Grief and horror overwhelmed them as they watched their beloved companion disappear. Tears streamed down their faces, but there was no time to mourn. The crocodile launched itself back into the pool, which was now filling quickly with rainwater. Aaron pressed his locket and lighter into Amelia's injured hands. He told her she had to escape through the drain because he couldn't swim and would only hold her back. They embraced tightly for what might be the final time. Amelia slipped into the flooded drainage tunnel. She flicked on the lighter, its small flame flickering uncertainly in the damp darkness. She navigated through several twisting tunnels until she reached the pump room area. A heavy metal lid blocked the exit above her. She pushed and strained with everything she had left, but the lid refused to move. Nearby, the manager's phone floated in the shallow water, ringing with an incoming call from the police. It died seconds later, but the officer had heard enough strange noises to grow suspicious. He immediately decided to drive toward the resort to investigate. Amelia continued searching desperately for another way out. Suddenly, a second, even larger crocodile appeared in the narrow tunnel. She held her breath and pressed herself flat against the slimy wall. The beast passed only inches away. Once it moved on, Amelia spotted a narrow side passage that led toward the open lake. Meanwhile, the police officer arrived above the pool. He tied a rope from his car and lowered it, then climbed down himself to help Aaron, who was trapped and frozen with fear. The crocodile struck without warning. The officer was pulled into the depths. The beast grabbed the rope and spun violently in a powerful roll. The car lurched forward and teetered on the edge before wedging against the pool wall, creating a precarious metal bridge. Fuel leaked from the damaged car, filling the air with the sharp smell of gasoline. Amelia reached the top edge at that critical moment. Both of them scrambled into the tilted car. A service gun lay on the seat. Amelia grabbed it and fired several shots at the rear window, shattering the glass to create an escape route. The crocodile suddenly smashed through the car door, trapping Aaron. Amelia aimed the gun and fired repeatedly to stop the beast. One of the shots struck the leaking fuel tank. The explosion was deafening. The blast threw Amelia and Aaron back into the rising water as the threat was neutralized. The makeshift car bridge collapsed and became useless. One crocodile had been defeated, but the second predator still hunted somewhere in the flooded pool. Amelia seized Aaron and pulled him desperately into the drainage tunnel. They fought their way through the churning, dark water toward the lake exit. Aaron's injured leg became caught on underwater debris. Amelia refused to abandon him. She pulled with every last bit of her strength until his leg finally came free. They emerged onto the muddy lakeshore together. Aaron was not breathing. Amelia began CPR, pressing on his chest and breathing into his mouth, tears streaming down her face. She begged him not to leave her. After several agonizing moments, Aaron coughed violently. Water poured from his lungs and his eyes slowly opened. They collapsed side by side on the wet ground, exhausted, traumatized, but alive by the narrowest of margins.